The run and shoot offense in NCAA is one that's kind of hard to replicate from the real life version, mainly because of the vast amount of motions and option routes that head coaches such as June Jones and gurus of the run and shoot offense like to employ to confuse defenders and also to ensure that the correct play call is always on the field when the ball is snapped. However, I still wanted to go ahead and break down the run and shoot because there are some good plays in the run and shoot playbook. I'm using the current master of the run and shoot, June Jones's playbook in SMU, and I want to go ahead and break down some of the personnel. First off, they've got a more than capable quarterback, Garrett Gilbert. He's a transfer student to SMU when June Jones took the job. He's a redshirt junior. And as you can see, the trait that you need in the run and shoot is that you need pretty good throwing power. It doesn't require you to be a 99 throw power or anything, but you need some pretty good downfield accuracy as well. So Gilbert is capable of getting the ball downfield to the receivers. Now, the run and shoot is a offense that does not employ a tight end. So there are a majority of 4 wide receiver sets, and we'll go ahead and go back to the wide receivers here. And you can see here that most of them are fairly speedy. Size isn't a huge thing, but it's nice to have at times. There's going to be a lot of downfield shots in this offense, so having the speed and acceleration to create the separation needed to make these downfield throws for long gains is a necessity, if you will. The running back. The running back is built like a fullback in the running shoot offense. As you can see here, their SMU fullback is not a very high overall. He's 6'2" and 240, but I'm just using this for comparison purposes, as the impact player on this offense is Zach Line, their halfback. Now, the halfback is actually referred to as the super back in the run and shoot offense. So he is labeled with typically an SB label. And as you can see here, this guy's a truck. 6'1", 230 pounds. He's a 94 overall. Pretty good acceleration. He's good break tackle and truck rating. He's able to make people miss in space, and that's really what the super back is used for. Decent carry rating, solid catch rating for a running back. He's really used a lot since there's no lead blocker. He needs to be strong enough to break tackles. So this player here, Zach Line, is a good option. And as well, he may get some passes in the flats, and he's big enough to make outside cornerbacks and slot DBs miss. And he's capable of outrunning some outside linebackers. So he's a good option. The other impact player on this offense, and I really like this SMU offense, is Darius Johnson, who's got 92 speed and 94 acceleration. He plays faster than he really is in the game, though. Going back, as I said, there's a lot of 4 wide receiver formations. They don't really utilize the tight end much. As you can see here, they've got a couple tight end formations in the pistol. They use the tight end a little bit, but the vast majority employs 4 wide receivers. 4 wide receivers here, 4 here. It looks like actually the tight end is in on that play. No, the tight end is number 13. So as you can see here, they're using a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. And typically in the run and shoot, they will motion from 2x2 sets to 3x1 sets, as well as motioning from 3x1 down to 2x2 sets. This is to really draw 2 things, really. You're trying to conclude whether they're in man or zone, and it's a little bit tougher in NCAA, mainly in that they have the man lock, so guys follow. So you aren't getting a huge tell on whether or not they are in man or zone just by simply motioning a player across the formation. But the other reason is to create mismatches and actually isolate receivers at times, and also to create these route combinations. Now, the labeling for the wide receivers in the formation actually goes as such. The X receiver is still, if we can back up here, this receiver over here is the X receiver, and this receiver is still the Z receiver. Now, in the run and shoot, typically your Y, and they use 2 tags for the slot receivers. One is Y, and one that is interchangeable from coach to coach is the W for wing, or just simply using the other slot as the H receiver. So the interior receivers are often the Y and H receivers. And what a lot of coaches will do when they call plays in the run and shoot is they will utilize the motion as part of the play call. So they will call something such as a slide route, which in essence all that does in the run and shoot is if they call, you know, whatever pass play, say H slide. You know, they'll give every single other receiver like X. They'll call him on a this would be looks like a post curl. They may just call that a typically they're on an option route, but we'll just say like here X is on a curl, and then they'll say H slide. And what that tells the receiver to do is slide across the formation and create a trips look on the opposite side. And typically you can get a tell from that. However, in NCAA, the slot corner follows. So you're not getting a direct tell from that. But what that does, even if they're in zone, as you can see here, we'll audible to zone, is it really puts a stress on this corner right here to get back into his position. And you can still get that route combination on the trip side to do whatever you want. Granted, the play that we called is not one that you would motion over. I do want to go over a concept that a lot of run and shoot coaches do use, and the two plays we're going to call are run and shoot switch curl flat and the run and shoot switch curl. Now, both these plays are capable in the game of beating man and zone coverage. So we'll go ahead and run the switch curl. And what I like about this play is that you have the concept switch means your X receiver or your Z receiver, depending on how the play is. I didn't mean to motion here. The Z receiver will run to the inside. Let me get that guy back over so you can see that better. The X receiver or the Z receiver will run a route to the inside, while the H or W, depending on what your scheme you want to label them as, the H or Y receiver will run to the outside. This switch concept is mainly to try to create confusion and cause confusion in the secondary on who's going to take who on a route. Granted, in Madden, it doesn't always generate a switch, so not as effective as it would be in real life. So on this play, you would have a YZ switch, and I keep motioning guys over, it's so sensitive. Right here, you have a YZ switch and a XH or XW curl flat. And if you flip the play back to the other way, now you have the X and H or W, whichever, again, on a switch, and the YZ on the curl flat. So now actually breaking down the play on how it works. I like this play because against man coverage, as we all found out in NCAA so far, curls beat man, and we have two of them on this play. And then you also have the potential of this receiver on the wheel route getting open as he breaks down the sideline against his man coverage as well. Now, this play puts stress on the free safety if they are in zone coverage. Say they're in a cover 2 look. Puts stress on the free safety to cover either the man on the deep curl route sitting down in the zone right in front of him or taking the deep sideline route. And here on this play, we have the super back blocking, which is nice. He's built like a fullback. So now we're coming up on almost 8.5 minutes of me breaking it down, but I feel like this is better educating at least. I know in a previous video I made a mistake on labeling the slot receiver as a Y, and I do apologize to that. I've reached out to the person that I had the exchange with and apologized about that. So now that that's out of the way, I want to ensure that I'm going to get my terminology correct and not always be on the defensive. I am not always correct, but it is what it is in that scenario. Moving forward, as you can see here in this replay, we go ahead and run this against the cover 2. And as you can see, as the man on the curl route gets off and sits down underneath the zone, he draws the free safety in, allowing us to deliver the wheel route to the outside for a large gain. And that's what the run and shoot is about. Now, how about against cover 3? The play works slightly different against cover 3 now that you have a deep zone dropping down the sideline, which will take the wheel. But as you can see, the curl route will sit down right in the middle of these 3 zones, and you can throw it for a 15-yard gain. So that's just on this switch side. The curl flat, you can, against cover 2, you use a simple high-low read on the outside, and here actually they cover it pretty well. Probably going to get picked if I throw this ball here, but Against the cover 2, you're really isolating the outside corner to decide whether or not he's going to play down on the flat or take the curl. Unfortunately, you don't have anybody occupying the slot corner, and he can sit underneath the curl, taking that away. If you like, you can get the running back involved by putting him on a simple out route to draw the slot corner up. Again, that's up to you. If you read the pressure, at least you know you've got a stout super back to pick up an edge rusher or somebody coming through the middle. Now, this is mainly a zone beating coverage. Sometimes the wheel gets open against zero blitzes and cover 1 blitzes where the free safety's in center field and can't get all the way to the sideline. Theoretically, this play, run and shoot, switch, curl, is to beat man coverage. And to illustrate this, we'll try to give ourselves some more room to the switch side of the field. So the triangle receiver in the slot, the W or H receiver, if you're going by letter tags, has room to try to break his route off to the sideline. As you can see here, there's the switch, and we can try to deliver that. That's such a long throw. But the problem you're going to have with this play is if you get too close to the sideline that you're throwing it to, you're not giving the receiver enough room to run his route. And as you can see there, that's still a tough throw to make. Theoretically, the route should beat man coverage. You can't smart route it, though. So that's the problem that you're going to have. Now, on this play, I do want to point out that you have switches on both sides of the formation. This is a 2x2 formation, and you have switch concept on both sides with the inside receivers breaking to the outside and the outside receivers breaking to the inside. So this play is a switch on both sides of the field. The route combos are different. One side you have a wheel and a post. The other side you have the curl and the out route off of the switch concept. So as far as the 2x2 sets with no motion, that's how the run and shoot works. I will try to break down a little bit how the trip stuff works. Typically, when you work in a trips formation, you're going to it out of a motion. So I'll try to find a play and see if we can replicate it. Here we have a lot of option routes. We can go ahead and see what we can do here with this. 61X choice. So X on this play is obviously on an option route, hence the 61X choice, as well as what looks like our Y receiver, R1 labeled in this play on a option route to either break it in at looks like an 8-yard dig, or break it towards the post if he sees the middle of the field is open. Now, that's a different concept in itself. Middle of the field open versus middle of the field closed. That's all about reading 1 high safety or 2 high safeties. If there's 2 high, you call MOFO coverage, is what the offense reads it as, is MOFO, which stands for the middle of the field is open. If there's 1 high safety, you call it as middle of field closed, MOFC. Now, what you do against MOFO coverage is typically the option routes should break towards the middle of the field. So here we read MOFO coverage. And again, in NCAA, it does not always break this way. We should have this receiver really does have an option. If he sees this safety drop way off to the outside, Johnson here, the X receiver, should break off to the slant. If he sees the safety play towards the inside, he should run the vertical, and we should have a nice window between the flat and the deep zone on that half of the field. Now we go to our Y receiver. Typically, we'll just go ahead and run it as this. So let's say that R1 receiver was our H receiver, and we called something like I believe the play call was 61X choice. What you would say to call this play would be from a 2x2 set, you would say H slide, and you would call a side. You'd say H slide, and either rip or Liz typically is a direction that you want the motion. Or they also use rip and Liz in the tags for the wide receivers to tell them which direction to run their route. So if they call X rip as the route play, then they're going to run a route to the right. If they call, X Liz, X is going to run a route breaking to the left. And that's typically how run and shoot systems are developed. Now, This play call, if you were coming from a 2x2 set, you would say, assuming R1 here was your H or W receiver, the wing, you would say W slide 61 X choice, telling you to go from a 2x2 set to this trips right set. Now you've got the trips right with the 61X choice, and you see mofo coverage, which is something you would call at the line, which this is what makes it so hard and so difficult to run in NCAA, is that you don't have all these options to create option routes post snap with your audibles and your hot routes and all that. You really, really have to be on top of your game with the playbook to run this offense, unless you just run the stagnant plays off of your opponent's tendencies that don't employ motion. But the play that you would have called here was 61, you would say H slide, 61X choice, and this would be the play call. And then based off of the cover 2 look here, you read the mofo coverage, and you should have what is now the Y receiver on this side. If you came out in this formation, he should break towards the middle of the field with this mofo coverage. So let's see if he does here. And he does. And you should have the post up over the top. Now, granted, the strong safety played it, so let's go ahead and call the cover 2 again, and let's see what we should have done on this play. Here you have the vertical post, and you're basically splitting the strong safety on this side of the field, making him take one of the verts. So whichever one he doesn't take, you throw to the other. And that's against cover 2. Granted, you won't see a lot of it online, but if you're someone who just likes to play against the computer, you play an offline franchise or even an online franchise, and in that particular week you're playing the computer, it's something that you can do. Now let's see if I actually flare the safeties in this cover 2, if Johnson, our X receiver, will run his route to the middle of the field. And he doesn't. But that's okay. Like I said, the option routes don't always play how they should, because I don't know if it has something to do with awareness or if it has anything to do with just the route running rating of the player, of whether they make the correct choice. I don't know. But if we run something like this and we actually give it's not man align, if we give the MOF-C coverage where the middle of the field is closed with the one high safety, hopefully this player will realize that. And really, though, he should just go ahead and break his route off at a curl and stay on the perimeter instead of cutting across the field. As well as this player with the middle of the field closed should either break it to the outside on the out route or just stay on his vertical. So we'll see how this plays. And he actually breaks across the field deep and we make the wrong read. But in a real run and shoot concept, this receiver should, theoretically, sit down. Right here, he sits down, and you give your quarterback a window to make a touch pass with this receiver on the inside. This would be your H receiver or your wing running this shallow dig, should allow you to throw the ball right here in a true run and shoot offense. This player would sit down underneath zone over here. He should just sit down right there instead of breaking it over the middle. But that's fine. Like I said, option routes don't always work. So that's it for this breakdown of the run and shoot.
I hope some of you can take and implement some of these concepts into your own schemes, or even take a look at diving into the run and shoot as a whole. I think you'll find that even though some of the option routes are inconsistent, you should still be able to use some of the plays that are more consistent, like the switch routes or the switch concepts, as well as some of these slide concepts with hot routes that would allow you to replicate something that you would see from a June Jones offense or a Mouse Davis offense. So go ahead and take a look at the playbook, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Feel free to comment in the box below, provide feedback. Thanks, guys.